Today we are going to learn about solid layer. We are going to work more with shape tools and their content properties. We also learn about mask. Let's start with creating a new composition. To create a new solid layer, I go to Timeline, Layer panel, right-click, New, and choose Solid. But what is a solid layer? A solid layer is a layer that contains color. So for example, if I want to add a specific color to the background of my composition, I do that by creating a new solid. By default, the size of my solid is the size of my composition. So when I press OK, whatever color I choose is going to fill the whole composition. I can change the color that I want at the bottom. And now I can see the solid layer in my layer panel. Now let's create a new shape. If you remember, to create a shape, we would choose a new shape. And we made sure that we are not selecting any layer on the layer panel. To do that, we click outside of any selected layer and deselect them. We go to viewport and create our shape. We can repeat this process and make sure we are not selecting any layer. So we end up with having multiple shape layers. But what happens if we do not deselect our shape layer and continue creating shapes? What happens is we have now multiple shapes inside one shape layer. The good thing about this is we can actually animate all these shapes together. Another good thing is we actually can animate each of these shapes individually as well. Because if you expand them, you can see each one of them has a transform option. So they have options that allows you to move them, scale them, and etc. Another useful thing to know about content properties of a shape layer is that there are multiple properties inside that allows you to edit your shape and change it and work with its fill, stroke, or its form. For example, if I expand a rectangle path, there is an option called roundness. So with this option, I can actually round the corners of my shape. If I have a stroke, I can actually edit the stroke here, changing its opacity. I can actually give some roundness from the stroke part. And there's also another option called dash, which turn your stroke to dash lines. And this can give you interesting shapes. You can actually add more dash and change the gap between them, add more and get some interesting shapes. If you pay attention, you see some of these options have a stopwatch beside them. So this means that you can actually animate some of these options. So for example, animate the offset here by creating a keyframe and then moving my time indicator to 2 seconds ahead and change the offset. Now if I play, I have this interesting movement. You can also animate the roundness of your shape. For example, I can move my time indicator in second 2 and change my shape to some form of circle. I can even animate the color of my shape. So right now is kind of green yellow, and I can keyframe the color in the beginning of my timeline and then move my time indicator to 1 second after and then change the color to something else. So content properties are useful options that allows you to create, modify, and animate your shape. And you can expand them and play with them to just become familiar with what they do for you. One useful tool that you can find in your toolbar is Pen Tool. Pen Tool is to create freehand shapes. You can create a shape with corners or curve with Pen Tool. To do that, you just need to click for corner. And if you want to create a curve part, you need to click and drag. If you click and hold Pen Tool, you have other option as well. You can add vertex to the shape that you already created. You can delete any vertex that you don't want, and you can edit them. If this is a corner shape vertex, you can change it to a curve form. And if you want to change your curve part, the curve part of your shape to a corner, you just need to click. So if I click again, I have these handles which called Bezier. And if I go back to Pen Tool, I would be able actually to move them around and edit my shape. When you are working with these Bezier handles, they are usually moving together. If you hold Alt, you can work with one of them. And again, if you hold Alt again, you can move both of them. So Pen Tool gives you a lot of freedom to create freehand shapes and creative ones. Finally, let's talk about mask. Right now I have a shape layer that include 2 shapes, one circle and one rectangle. And I want to mask my shape layer. So I see some part of it and I hide the rest. To do that, I go and choose my shape tool. Right now my shape tool works as creating a shape. So whatever shape I choose and click and drag here, I'm gonna create just different shapes. I know that by looking at my toolbar and seeing this little icon, a star icon is selected. If you hover above this icon, you see it says Tool Create Shapes. Now, if you move to the option, to the icon beside, you see that it says Tool Creates Mask. So I'm gonna select this one, and at this moment, my shape tools are going to act as a mask. Whatever shape I choose, the form of my mask would be the same. So right now I want a rectangle mask. I come here in my viewport and just drag and create a mask. Basically what I've done is that whatever is inside the shape I can see, and whatever is outside is masked. You can change that. Just go back to your shape layer. You see that now you have a mask added to your shape layers. Here you can change from add to subtract, and then you mask anything that is inside the shape you created, and anything that is outside you can see them. So you can actually change your mask properties here. If you expand the mask properties, you have some other option as well. For example, you can animate your mask by moving your mask path. Just make sure that all of the points in your mask are selected. The next option is mask feather, which means that you can change the blurriness of the border of your mask. You can also change the opacity of your mask or the expansion of your mask. And again, you can animate all of these options.